Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Ferris Does Whatevs. First of all, I got my spoopy overlays from the last time I did a Whatev stream. And this was in October when I was playing a bunch of Opus Magnum. Um, Still an awesome game that I want to play more of. And then I went to set up the overlays for the stream, and I still had this stuff on, so I just had to leave it because I think it's great. Although I'm gonna remove it because it's distracting. Especially because screen real estate isn't more of a premium. Oh, still got a hat. There we go. Believe me, that's not the last hat that will be in this stream. That's a drum joke. But I'm having a great time. All right, so I haven't streamed in a few weeks, and the reason for that basically boils down to the fact that I am in the same small space for most of my life right now. It's not entirely true. In fact, I've been lucky enough to be able to go back to the office for work, for example. That's really helped, at least in the last couple days. But we might be told not to do that anymore, so we'll see. Anyway, I was hoping to stream more, and I think I announced I was going to start doing some Sunday streams, and then that just did not materialize at all. I think I did one of those. And I was also doing a bunch of demo tool work, which I kind of burned myself out on a little bit because I think it's really boring. And I'm going to push through some of that by the time we do our next 64K still. But right now, I've been distracting myself last couple weeks with music production. I don't remember what really sparked that. I know I showed something that I was working on for my brother a few weeks ago, but this is like a separate thing to that. Although maybe that boosted my confidence and made me want to try some stuff again. I really don't know. But I've been having a lot of fun, and I bought some new plugins. I upgraded Ableton Live. And I've just been doing a lot of stuff. I've had a focus on some drum and bass. I've been listening to a lot of, especially late noisy stuff, and trying to kind of reference that. And also one of the things that a lot of my production has been focused on is getting stuff really, really big and loud. And I think generally I've done an okay job at that. I think a lot of the releases that I've released in the last few years, usually, to be fair, they're usually not very serious. I think the last thing I actually did any music like really seriously was my EP in 2014, and I totally burned out on music when I did that. So didn't really have any official releases after that. And I think for the time that EP sounded really good. Like I'm pretty proud of that. And since then I've been a lot sloppier, especially on mixing, because I don't really care. Like a lot of the music that I've released has been for demo scene competitions where it just doesn't have to be that good, you know? Because a lot of people don't listen to music compos anyway. The only people that do are other demo scene musicians, and I think that people have enjoyed that stuff. And I guess some of the work that we've done in actual demo scene production. So like I've had a hand in a lot of, for example, Bros Before Hoes. I did a lot of mixing in that, also to make it really big, which I really enjoyed, and I had a lot of fun with that. I think that was a little more serious. And luckily, Ian tamed some of that work that I did down a little bit before it was released, because I overdid it a bit, which is really easy to do. But the thing is, I'm really interested in actually making things really loud, like the right way. And arguably, there really is no right way. Like, let me show you something. I'm gonna get a lot of people that misinterpret what I'm about to show. So there's a reason I don't make music production videos or like tutorials, because I think it's really easy to get this stuff wrong. And I think music production is so accessible that there's a lot of idiots that watch a lot of those videos. And you can see that in a lot of the comment sections of this kind of stuff. But anyway, what I'm going to show is a track that I didn't make, and I'm going to mute my system audio just in case I play it, because I don't want to get muted. Let's see, where is it? Having trouble finding stuff here. I'm going to show you a Noisia track here. And the reason I'm going to show it to you is because Noisia tracks sound really good. They're amazing sound design, awesome mixing, and they're really fucking loud. And so we're going to look at, I know it's one I have shown before, but let's look at another one maybe, because I'm pretty sure this will apply to basically all of them. So this is Decloak from the Armajet soundtrack that was released, I guess, last year. I also know that this is 172, so I'm just going to stick that in my DAW. Anyway, the main part of this, I believe, is there's a couple sausages because there's sort of two drops. I think there's this part and this part. I think these are sort of the two drops. And these are the loudest parts of the song. And if we look at this, if we really zoom in here, in fact, even like this maybe might be a good place. I'll mark that. But if we just look at the drop, it looks fairly homogeneous. Obviously, you can see where like the drums are. But what I want to look at in particular is some of these subs. And I just want to take a look at this section I found here. Actually, maybe we can find one that's even more. Whoops, I started playing it. That's why I'm muted. Like maybe here's a good example. I want you to look at this waveform. Because this is not a sine wave. Like obviously there's a lot of frequency content because this is a really loud sound. But kind of my point here is that if you just trace the sine wave part here, like even with your hand, you could see like this goes over these peaks, right? So clearly there's some kind of like limiting or saturation or something on this, right? And in that sense, you'll never get perfectly clean sounds to sound this loud. That's kind of my point here, is that if you want things to sound this loud and up front, like there's going to be some kind of dynamics control that will color the sound. So like there's no way to take any sound you want and get it really, really loud, I guess is really the point here. The point is that in order to get something louder within the same physical limitations of this medium, you need to actually add harmonics. And the only way that a waveform gets cut like this, and in this case, this is really slammed, is by actually adding enough sine waves such that this original sinus curve actually is canceled at this peak here and ends up turning flat. So there's going to be a lot of high frequency content right here. There's going to be actually less here, and then there's going to be a ton right here. But of course, there's going to be a lot of that spread across this. And that's the kind of saturation you get from this kind of limiting, which you have to do. So then sort of the game becomes, how do you apply that tastefully in a way that still sounds good and still sounds very dynamic? And of course, this is a pretty dynamic waveform. Like, yeah, we zoom out enough. Of course, this is a total sausage. But of course, you zoom in a little bit more, and okay, these are clearly drum hits. And some cool waveforms and stuff. And there's also like little quieter parts here too, which is going to make things like this drum hit sound really loud because there's this little bit of quieter stuff here too. You can also see that this is pretty dense, which in this kind of view means higher frequency. So there's some higher frequency stuff, and then all of a sudden a bunch of low frequency stuff that happens after, and that's also going to add a lot of weight and sort of contrast. I don't remember where I was going with this. Yeah, I roughly do. I've been listening to a lot of this stuff and kind of doing a lot of like loudness experiments with a bunch of loudness meters and stuff too. And I don't want to share too much of that stuff because it sounds really bad. But my point is, I'm very interested in how you do that and how you actually, like, what elements do you choose? How do you build everything up? Because this kind of loud track you don't get just from taking whatever track and then blasting it through a limiter. You get it through sound design, such that you don't generate a lot of harmonics you don't actually want or care about. You get it through mixing and like, where do you apply limiting and compression that will slam stuff like this but still sound good. And like a lot of producers do just slam the master bus, and I've done that a lot. But you need to, if your goal is to make like the loudest, most upfront thing, that's usually not the best way to do it, right? It can be a good way to do it. Like, there are no rules here. And again, when you look at a waveform like this, this should tell you that you have to be a bit creative here and not keep everything super clean. You have to sort of tastefully apply the tricks in the dirt. So, but again, what I will say is that the limiter that you're going to stick on your master chain is going to be really kind of unforgiving if you just blast stuff into it. And if you want to make things really loud, then you need to do other mixing things, like, for example, put in smaller elements behind the large ones somewhere else in, for example, in the stereo field, while the thing you want to display is like up front and center. And you have to carve out a little headroom for that, or at least have areas with when the sound's playing where there is enough headroom for that stuff to sort of peek through, even though, this might be a kick, and then this is all you hear for example, this part of the sound, and then the rest of this opens up, and then you hear the other elements, and that can give you some time to actually put contrasting elements in there, because things don't just sound big on their own. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and it all starts with sound design, like the entire sort of pipeline. And that's why I also find it interesting, because it isn't just one simple trick. It's the mixture of a lot of things that are decided well. And so if you want to make really loud music, which I do, I think it's really cool. I think big, like, loudness is part of a track. And I think if you want that like big booming impression, you actually do want that kind of loudness, but you want to get it in a way that still preserves a lot of the dynamics, and you want to sort of engineer it such that it gives you that impression. Like, everyone, if you go to like the canvas analogy, which I think a lot of people use, like every producer kind of paints on the same canvas, yet some people are able to use that same canvas and create more depth and create more space, and create things that look bigger and more impressive within that same space. And you do that with a lot of tricks and a lot of good decisions and making things very clear. That said, I don't really consider myself an expert on this. I think that I've done some really loud mixes that are pretty good, but not great. I don't think I've done any that are great. And so I think recently I've been going back and kind of just starting from scratch a little bit again. According to OBS, I'm still streaming, and you say the audio's back, but the video doesn't seem to be, is it? I don't know what happened here, you guys. Okay, it looks like I can click around in the DAW. My screen capture appears to work. Yet my camera does not work. It's frozen, isn't it? That's so weird. I have no idea what happened. My audio just started crackling. Like, a lot. Okay, it looks like I can hear my audio out. Let's see, where's my face cam? Let's try and fix this. This is weird, you guys. Is it my camera that just took a crap? Let's try and add it again. What the hell happened? Okay, my camera's just eating shit now, you guys. Let's try and unplug it. Maybe that explains what happened? I have no idea. I have no idea what happened here. Okay, there's my face. Hey. And my green screen and shit is just not working now. Oh, and there things just went gray. Very strange. Very, very strange. What the hell? Let's see. Let's see how quickly I can add the green screen back. Chroma key. Green. I don't really care how good it is, to be honest. There's a little white line behind me. That's totally fine. Let's go with that. Oh, that was really strange. I don't know what happened there. It seems that this stuff still works. In fact, we can test my system audio here. No, that is totally bad. That's not working at all, actually. Let's try and disable that and re-enable it. Did that work? Okay, yeah, okay. I guess we're good. Again, no idea what happened there. Also, the sun is going to shine in my face a little bit for the next half hour or something. Okay. Let's try and get back on whatever the hell topic it was. By the way, hi to guys in the chat. Alkama, Chief Detector, Evilak, Pokey, Rytone, Tomko. Thanks for the sub, by the way, Tomko. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it could be driver stuff. I have no idea what happened. Anyway, let's just pretend it didn't and move on. So anyway, I've been listening to a lot of drum and bass and kind of trying to figure a lot of that stuff out and recreate some of it. And I've been having a lot of fun doing that. And since I don't have a lot of my old samples that I made like 6 years ago, I actually do have them, but I don't want to dig them up because I kind of want to build everything from scratch. I know that I become a better producer, even though I haven't been making that as much music as I used to. So I've been kind of, I don't know, revamping my whole sound design thing. And the other thing I've been trying to do is kind of take it a bit easy, like not just dive in and make a bunch of tracks, but just like kind of try to enjoy it and also break up the process a bit. So I know that when I'm writing songs, I often get distracted by the engineering and kind of lose the vibe. And I feel like I don't separate my engineering and sound design stuff from the composition stuff enough. So I've been in an effort to do that. I've been just doing a lot of days where I just work on sound design, and sometimes those translate to then testing the sounds in some kind of test mix. I've got a couple things that might actually become tracks, but a lot of things that won't. Like I probably started 10 songs or something in the last couple weeks, and maybe 2 of those are useful, and that's fine. I totally expect that. There's a lot of things that are kind of again being used as like little mix tests, again to test with like getting stuff loud without losing too much. And yeah, I've just been enjoying that a lot. So I want to, I guess, go through some of the stuff I've been doing. I've been doing, again, focus on drum and bass. So I've been trying to play with some kind of like breaks that I've been building. Some of these are distorted to hell. Let me turn some stuff up here. Is that a good volume? Probably. Stuff like that. I mean, what I'm kind of trying to do is essentially make like my own little sample pack, and then by the time I actually want to compose something, I can start sort of dragging these in. There's some of that stuff. There's some other stuff. What is this? Oh, yeah, I like build up drums. I don't think that's anything. Did some sound design. Been doing a lot of that, which I think has been really fun. So I've been going crazy and just making all kinds of stuff, and I think it's been really fun. I think this stuff is really fun to make. And most of these I'll just like pull up a new project and just set my DAW to 172 and just open up Serum and just see what comes out. And I might do some of that today. I kind of feel like trying to synthesize some drums, which I usually don't do a very good job of. So I think I need more practice with that. A Shiz detector said, do you master stuff after mixing in order to have the same result on different speakers? It's a pretty blended process, mixing and mastering. Since it's all done in the same DAW, I go back and forth a lot. I will test a mix a lot in different environments, especially on my phone and like on the TV in the living room and on laptop speakers. But most of the process happens in the box and it happens in the project. So to me, it's all kind of the same thing. And in fact, a lot of the composition as well is determined by what's going to make a clean mix later. That's a pretty important thing. What else do I have here? A lot of toys. These are some really glitchy stuff. I think it's cool. Which one do I like? I don't remember which one. I think it's this one. Stuff's just a mess, but it's just random stuff that I've just been playing with. And I think that's really fun. This is Live 10. That's what DAW this is. Then I have some other projects which I don't really want to pull up because they take a bit to load, but I can play some renders. I think that's kind of fun. I think this is one of the more promising ones that I have. It's gonna be loud. And then I made a lot of crap. I have a feeling that thing I just played will not become a track, because it ended up in this weird place where it was like I kind of found some stuff about the sounds which I thought was sounding kind of unique, but I did so with like weird reverb tricks and some kind of crazy stuff that ultimately ended up making the sounds, when I pushed them to the level that I wanted them to be at, they had too much information. So I kind of lost a lot when I pushed the sounds. I lost a lot of what I did want and gained a lot of what I didn't want. And so the sounds sound really washy to me in a way that I didn't want. I want to try to do this really modern, super tight, clean sound that a lot of drum and bass producers are getting. And I feel like I won't get there with the loop that I just played. Even though I think that's the kind of thing that a lot of labels would like, but it's just not the kind of sound I'm going for. And I've even made some of these where like I just go in and I try to make an existing song. Let's see, can we open this? And the whole point, let's see, actually, the whole point of this is not to like, not to exactly get there, but it's to like do a lot of the engineering and sound design work to kind of get ballpark, and again to sort of test some of these ideas, and then ideally get inspired to do something else. But I think I do want to pull one of those up. So again, this is from that Noisy Armajet soundtrack, and my version sounds a lot worse. And while that's loading, I can probably play some other stuff. I thought I had renders of that one. I think this one. So that one sounds really loud, and it is really loud. I think it's a bit crunchy. I don't really like it. And then this one's just stupid. Yeah, and that's obviously blasted. Like, that's how you do loud the wrong way, but I think it was really fun to make. And maybe that becomes something, I don't know. So I've got a lot of these where I'm just like really messing around and testing with stuff, and that's what I've been doing the last few weeks. And I just think it's really fun. This is still loading. These projects take a while to load, which is annoying, but that's where we're at. Which one did I load even? I already forgot. And obviously, I'm only really comfortable sharing some of this stuff because I don't think it will become something. And if it does, then great. You heard it here first. But I don't think so. Not yet. I feel like right now I'm just kind of throwing things against the wall and learning a bit about like mixing and stuff that I kind of want to do. Again, big disclaimer: this is a mess, but it's testing, so it can be a mess. And this sounds like ass, right? But there's some cool stuff in here. In particular, and I'm totally stealing this from Noisiest Armajet soundtrack, the way that this kind of works. And this is not a very good application of this, I should add. But this first part where it goes boo, boo, boo. There's a really cool thing here because there's this sound here, which I think is called shock top. Or these are the two tops. And those go together with these bottoms, which is fine. But what's really cool about this, oh, it does make the video stutter. It uses too much CPU probably. Yeah, the CPU jumps to like 60% when I play any of this. Anyway, what's kind of cool about this is that if you can hear these cymbals, which is this tops bus, you can see they kind of crunch up and get out of the way of the original sound. And the way that works is actually pretty cool. So these are both these. This is just like that wash, the actual samples. There's a couple hi-hats and then this weird thing I got, which it's just some delay thing that I thought was cool. But what I do is I take those bass sounds and I actually feed them into this bus. And I feed them into that bus. I actually boost the bass a bunch. And then I stick this through a vintage tape. I think it's the Ozone vintage tape, which I really like. And then I go and filter out all that bass again. So I just get the harmonics after it's been blasted through the tape. And then that's actually what you hear out of this bus. So it takes these sounds and also adds in all this bass and then crushes it to hell and then removes the bass. And what you get is that the sounds kind of move out of the way of the big bass thing. And it makes the bass sound bigger, right? That's kind of one of those things where you create a contrast. So I think that's really cool. This other Reese thing is not very good. Actually, maybe that's okay, but I don't think it's good here. And then what is this? An extremely compressed break. Probably one of the ones I made. And a snare that I probably took from a sample pack. Oh, and then this is a snare sidechain. That's what that is. And the kick and stuff. Kick, I probably made this with kick, yeah. Which is actually a tiny kick. Because it's fine that it's tiny. It sidechains the bass and sub. And then blends with them, so it's okay that that's pretty small. Oh, these aren't even the actual tops of these bass sounds. I probably have those muted, actually. Anyway, so this is the kind of project I just make a lot these days, just having fun testing stuff. Again, this will probably never become a real thing, but, you know, it's fun. Hey, Mad Triangle. So actually, there are a couple things I wanted to play with today, just kind of, again, in this vein. So I'm just going to make a new project. I wanted to play with doing some basses that are mostly just sort of sine wave distortion. And then I also kind of want to try and make some kicks and snares in Serum, as I think that's really fun. I bought Kick 2, which is something I wanted to buy for years actually, and then finally gave in. I bought a lot of plugins recently because like everything's on sale right now. Which I think is pretty cool. Mad Triangle, do you think there's a way of being a CG engineer without being in the games industry? You could be in the silicon business. That's a great way to do it. Also, oil and gas, the health sector. Like, there's a lot of places that need visualizations, and especially AR and VR. There's a lot of startups kind of putting those two worlds together. So I think the answer is definitely yes. And the sun is right in my face, by the way, guys. So I'm sorry if I'm like leaning around a lot. That's just how it is right now. There's this little sliver between where the blinds are and where the sun is, and I'm just getting it all in my face. And I got this zit on my forehead that is so illuminated right now. And that's really fun to do a stream with. So I'm gonna throw together like a shady groove here, and the point is not to. Yeah, that's what duct tape's for. Actually, I might try to adjust the curtain here because this is really bugging me. Okay, that was easier than I expected. Now I've also got this like line behind my head because the light shines on the desk next to me that also reflects onto there, but that we're gonna ignore because it's not right in my face, so I don't care. Anyway, I'm gonna make like the shittiest groove here. Let's see. Again, from my own samples that I've made. These breaks, by the way, I went on Splice. I've had a Splice subscription for a couple of years. I got it actually when Wobble and I made a music entry for Tursock 2017, and it was just like, you know what, let's just go balls out. I don't really care if we use a bunch of samples, and I don't think we use that many actually. But anyway, I got a Splice subscription and then forgot about it, and now I have tons of Splice credits, so whenever I want samples, they're just free. And I bought this Travis Barker drum pack, which I don't really recommend actually, because there weren't nearly as many different hits as I thought there'd be. I might actually shell out for Superior Drummer for making this kind of stuff. But anyway, I layered a bunch of those drums in a project and just started playing with different kinds of compression, different kinds of hits. So I have a bunch of these breaks now that just came from this one day, which, as you can see, they're all dated. So this is on the 7th that I made a bunch of breaks. And I don't want to make a lot more of these. All different kind of variations. All of these are busier than what I want. just to say that, but what I think I might do is I might just edit this. Oh, that Unreal 5 demo is sick, by the way. I think it's so cool. All these have too many like ghost beats and stuff that I don't really want, but it doesn't really matter because I can just throw this together however I want, basically, can't I? So if I just do this, I can just have like the straightest beat. I hate this. But if we do this, maybe I like it more. That's okay. It's still, this is not the kind of tight drums that I wanted. So all these loops I spent time making, I might just not use right now. In fact, I might just pull in a different pack. I probably have some breaks in here that might be useful. Again, these are breaks, so they're going to be pretty busy, actually. Actually, this is kind of close to what I want, so I'm just going to take this. And this is why Splice is awesome, because now I can just start. Even if I throw this out later, it has gotten me over the hump. So let's go ahead and add some stuff. Let's go ahead and add a serum to not that track, this MIDI track. This is an init patch. I think I'm going to start with that. I want to try to... There's my basic shapes. I'm going to do a little bit of FM today, I think. And we're just going to get cheap groove. I'm going to mute this, and we're going to sort of bring this back in. And I'm not going to do any sidechain or any mixing kind of stuff. I'm going to resist the urge, because I always have the urge to do that kind of stuff too early. I don't know if I made any music on the stream for like 3 years, by the way, so this is kind of funny to me. And by the way, if you guys get really sick of hearing the same sound over and over again, that sucks. You're gonna do that a lot today. So I'm doing a lot of dotted 8 grooves right now. Actually, let's just make a random groove that fits with this beat. It's kind of what I'm hearing in this. I think this is going to be... I think that's maybe this way. Something like this will be enough. And I'm just going to make sure there's some holes between these sounds. And I think that might be enough. Yeah, so some kind of groove. It really doesn't matter that this is shit. By the way, I use a lot of meters, and I'm also going to actually just work on this section here. And part of that's because my monitoring setup isn't that great, and I don't really worry too much about that. I can do a lot of referencing, and I have decent headphones, and I know what a lot of songs look like in my meters. So I feel fairly comfortable with that. That said, I don't have any of those running right now, so I'm just going to stick some of those on here. I'm going to avoid using my loudness meter right now. I'm also going to avoid putting a limiter on the master right now. Actually, I will do that just in case, because I actually would rather that it clip, but that I could see it than anything else. So I'll probably just have that off screen. I have very limited screen real estate compared to what I normally use. I normally have this roughly 1080p live window. And then I usually, we'll just stick this at the top and make it pretty harsh, because that's what I like to do with the limiter. And then have most of the sends actually, like all the groups, that's where most of the processing is, and then just have a harsh limiter at the end. But what I like about this is that you can see when it's actually acting. You can see here's our signal. But even with this, you can see it's limiting a little bit, which is I don't care about right now. That's fine, but then I can see it and do something about it. And then the other meters I really like. I really like this Nugen visualizer. A small quirk with this I do not like though. Let's see. I'm gonna turn some of these off because there's this correlation meter I don't really care about most of the time, but I like this level meter here. And then this one thing I don't like about this is that it doesn't go all the way up to the audible range by default. So we're gonna raise this to about a little over 20K, so we'll be able to see everything. And I put this on the wrong channel. You can see our drum loop, which has a lot of high frequency content, doesn't go above this. So yeah, and you can see there's basically just one peak here. There's a little bit extra stuff, and so this one peak is the sine wave that I just did, and then this extra stuff is because the sine wave fades in and out. In fact, I'll show you that in this scope that I also quite like. I always have all these meters running when I'm making stuff. And then I usually have a loudness meter as well, but I'm gonna, again, ignore that. So this is gonna be, yeah, we'll just call this master, because this gives us like this multiple thing. So if I freeze this, it's almost a perfect sine wave, except at the beginning it fades in, at the end it fades out. These kind of fades out, or fades in and fades out, do change the characteristic of the sound, because basically everything you do in the time domain actually has some kind of a effect on the frequency domain, which is in a way both intuitive and counterintuitive, but that will end up generating extra harmonics other than just the sine wave, just the fact that these are in here. So that's what all this other stuff is, and that's typical for all this metering stuff. So yeah, so I normally just have these meters here all the time. Normally I stick this in the corner, but that might actually get in the way. So I don't know if it's best that you guys even see this stuff. But I think it's useful for sound design. The other thing I noticed immediately is that this sub is, I think, an octave higher than it could be, which is fine. Just drop that here. That's nice and deep. So this is kind of where our target sub's going to be. I did this in F, and that's because most of the stuff I end up doing is either in F or G, or E, like those really low tones. I don't think I ever go below D, because a lot of systems can't reproduce that. This is already quite low, which is great. And what I want to try and do today is just make this, basically take the sine wave and not really do anything with it in the synth, but then I want to try and do a bunch of stuff in processing to kind of bring out some interesting stuff. And maybe we get something good, maybe we get something crap. Either way, this is going to be a fun experiment, I think. So I just want to add a little bit of dynamics to this right now. That's controlled by this envelope, which I think we'll just bring down a little bit. You can see now it kind of comes down. I don't actually want it to do very much there, just a little bit. And the other thing I want to do is I want to add an envelope here, which is going to pitch this down a little bit. And I might actually add a couple of these, because I want this to kind of go between a couple notes, I think, just to be a little bit more interesting. But I'll start with just this one, which is going to do the pitch. Again, this is an envelope, and I'm going to make this, right now it's synced, and I'm actually going to probably use additional envelope points to kind of control what kind of length I want this to be in. I'm going to route this to the pitch of this oscillator, and you can see it goes down to low. And if we go into our matrix here, we can see, because this is is that bipolar? Is that the right word? Because it goes kind of both ways. But we actually only want this to automate this upwards and then back down to its middle level. But right now it's going back and forth between the two. So we click this and we get this, which I think is called unipolar. Yeah, it is bipolar and unipolar. And with this kind of automation, it sounds a little bit like a kick, which this is actually very often how you start making kick. But we're not gonna go that far. But I do want those kind of dynamics. I think that's cool. If we bring this up, we can hear. That's what it's doing. And I think this is a bit much too. And because this is pretty sensitive, I think I'm going to bring that down here. Yeah, you probably are losing video frames. My computer doesn't seem to like encoding all of this stuff and doing all this DSP. If I were to be streaming audio all the time, I'd probably get a separate machine for actually running the stream. But that's not what we're getting today. I think this is cool. And then I think I wanted to do something like this that is then time synced. So we get kind of some pitches that rise or fall in time. So I think I'll just start with this and see if this sucks. And I'm going to actually just do this here. We'll do Ep.020, which is this one. And we're going to route that to the same thing, oscillator A, coarse pitch. We're going to make that also unipolar. And this is kind of cool because you already almost have like a bass line here. Which this is exactly the kind of bass line I wanted to play around with. It's just like super simple and just more or less it's just a sine. In fact, actually, I might even just do that here because I think that was kind of cool. Actually, no, I'll put it back because that did sound better to my ears and it was easier. So let's leave that. So like 14 that I liked. And then again, this gets pretty high, but actually maybe I'll just reduce it. Whatever. Probably good enough. Again, we're just starting out. So one of the things I wanted to try, especially... so essentially if we distort this, we're going to get some harmonics. So like to illustrate that, if we take, let's try a plugin I haven't used before. This is from the Melda free pack. I have a couple in here that aren't in the free pack that I have as a trial that to see if I wanted to buy. But I think I want to, there should be a distortion here. This wave folder is actually the one I wanted to do. This just sounds like FM. I actually don't really know what this is doing. It behaves like FM for sure. Okay, but since I can't really describe what that's doing, it's probably something simple that I'm just not seeing at the moment. Let's try a wave shaper. I think that's a bit easier to understand. So the idea here is you have this input level that goes from 0 to, or I guess silence to 0 dB. And this is a linear scale, so the same input will match the same output. And if you can modulate this curve, as you do that, you add harmonics. The fun becomes you can make this basically anything you want. You get all kinds of crazy harmonics. this is not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do is do the same thing but with some kind of different plugin. So in particular, I recently got some Waves plugins. In particular, this Abbey Road vinyl, which I think is really cool, and this J37, which is a tape module. I also got this CLA76 compressor. And these are the kind of things I actually want to play with on here. I'm just going to drag these in and basically not activate them yet, because we're going to essentially use these to generate a little bit of harmonics themselves. And the reason I want to try and use like a tape unit or something that'll give me that kind of saturation is because I like those harmonics. And maybe it turns out we don't get a good sound after I start like distorting this. This stuff usually takes a fair amount of experimentation, but as long as we do a bunch of stuff kind of tastefully and then do a bunch of filtering, I think this will more or less just work. So I also don't know much about this plugin, and that's also why I wanted to do this. I do know that this input-output thing, this goes into this little saturator and then out, and I think I can adjust the saturation too. Also add a bit of tape noise, which I think is kind of fun. We'll have to play with that. I also, this is a completely different experiment I wanted to try, but I want to take this delay and I'll just do it now. Delay sucks, by the way, on sub stuff. This is our dry signal. And what I wanted to do here, this is the delay time. I wanted to see if this actually retains the information as I change the delay time. And it totally does. So you can see I get pitch artifacts when I change this, which is really cool. I'm going to use this for some effects later. But not in this experiment, I think. That's just a thought I had today. But basically, all I really wanted was this kind of saturation stuff. This one actually does some stereo stuff, which we do not want. I'm trying to be a little bit subtle here. So it really just adds a couple harmonics. It also reduces the volume of the sub in addition to this, so we got to be a bit careful about that. Oh yeah, Serum is the actual synth I'm using here. Really powerful synth, and I'm using basically none of it for the sound right now. I'm also actually going to turn up the output of Serum, which means I definitely need to adjust this stuff again. It's pretty loud. I think that's going to be fine. So basically running that into the red, which is what I kind of want to do. And then we actually want to apply some distortion. And for that, I might just use trash on this. But I kind of want to try using something else. I could also just use another kind of saturator. Screw it. I'll use trash because I like trash a lot. And at least we have a lot of control over how trashy I want to make this. So I think one of my favorite features about trash is a distortion and convolver plugin, which I think is really cool. It also has some nice filter automation that I've never used. And I always forget it has delay, which is kind of cool. In fact, does this also do that same thing where the delay time will change stuff? I should look into that another time. But I love the Convolver. I also should use the dynamics more. But this has this feature where it's multiband, and the idea is that it splits your signal into different bands, and then you do different processing on each band, which especially for these kind of sounds is usually really cool. So in particular, we can take like this low stuff and just kind of leave the rest of it as is. We want to get some of those extra harmonics in there, and we can just wave shape this. And you can see it adds a lot of harmonics up there too. And we could do the same for the middle band. I don't love how this sounds yet, but let's just keep messing with it. So the next thing I want to do is, there's usually fairly large chains of these things in succession when you do this kind of sound design, which I think is fine. Definitely want to scoop out some stuff here. Actually, I've never tried the notch filter for this. That should be appropriate. I feel really old school using Pro Q2, but that's what I have right now. Okay, and then usually people will just stick another one of these on here. I actually kind of want to try this. This is another insanely hard compressor. That's not very good. Not getting the kind of sound I want out of that right now. What happens with this? I want to try just like blasting stuff into this. I actually like that a lot. It totally is two curves. Now, at this point, we've got to be blasting this other limiter, which is fine because I want to stick this into another plugin that we're going to run into the red. I wonder if this final one has any saturation in it. Let's find out. No, just to use these don't. However, a lot of the Wavesaber devices have been modeled after this kind of thing. Yes, this is definitely saturating stuff. See, this is running into the red here. Crackle, that's so fun. I'm actually thinking I might want to drop this. This plugin's such a toy. It's great. but this is not giving me more saturation, which is kind of what I wanted. So I actually want to run this through maybe the J37 again. I also really like this ozone vintage tape, so maybe I do that. I might also let's just stick an ozone on this and play with it. But yeah, you can see I'm just like loading effects onto this. And again, that was an important thing when making Wavesaber, was to be able to do that kind of thing. You can see some of the noise. I think this comes from the J37 because I added some noise. Or did I? There's the noise. Liked how that sounded. And now we're blasting this into this ozone limiter, which I don't really want to do. That's not why I turned this on. I want this vintage tape, which I really like. I'm just killing my CPU now, aren't I? This is okay. Hear a lot of the noise comes back when the signal actually is gone. Where's that noise coming from again? Was that from this? Had that down. It might be. Not actually sure. No. It's from this. This has some noise in it. That's this analog thing. So I want to try a couple things here. Let's try with that with this actually. The trash has some stuff here with this filter. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff where things are going to start getting a bit interesting. Now, I don't know much about how to use this, but we're going to try. So let's do this with sync. Let's do this 8 dotted 8th groove. I can also do that with this filter. I think is going to be really useful. I love that low end. Yeah, no worries, Chief Detective. Thanks for hanging out. I know that this stuff gets really annoying, but it's what I want to do. Actually wondering if we should just use both filters here. The other thing we can do that I didn't play with is I can do this with multiple peaks. sort of mid-range sound. I'm just kind of not. Did I blow this out too much? Is that what I did? There you can kind of hear it more. Whoa. Not sure I want that. Yeah, I'm gonna probably put that back. Also gonna see if maybe using this in multiband mode might not be what I want. Might do too is actually less saturation here. My ears get so tired from doing this for hours, but it's fun, so. Also, I'll try this. Do I have a high pass here? I didn't realize there were some more of these. Some of these might be really nice. This one we want to have an LFO on. Okay, I think I might dial all this back a little bit. And actually just continue with more or less what I have here. Kind of try and keep this like just a really subby bass. But just to bring in some extra fun in this. And then do I want to try and gate this? I definitely want to add some compression to this actually. There's some dynamics. Add a range down here, I think. Actually, first we'll do this. Use this to kind of gate things, I think. Although I actually don't know how to use this interface. That's up there. It's got a limiter up here. That's what it is. Okay, so if this were... How can I turn this up? Is that this one? No, that's that. Right, there's my... Sorry, the limiters here. Okay. I was hoping to choke up on this bottom point a bit. Looks like I can only do this way. Okay, I can't turn this negative. I can't. This might not be the unit I want to use. Actually, do I have any other multiband dynamics? I actually can put another trash on this and just use that part. That would work. Let's try that. Stupid signal chain, but this is another reason why I like to do sound design in separate projects. Turn off this limiter. Just try using the dynamics. Turn it to multiband. Then here, can we basically gate like I want? I think we can. Yes, we can gate. to hear AB with just the compressor part on this one band. Whatever. Basically the same thing here, I think. This will gate this pretty hard because I want to. Also expand. Basically what OTT does. Actually, I don't know if I brought out enough stuff. I'm gonna play with these a bit more. I keep changing my mind that I want this to be really subby or not. Try something. If I do these dynamics into the trash, and I do the trash, this is kind of fun. Just some final distortion at the end. Why not ruin everything we've done now? Let's do this. Let's do drive. I like this elastic trash mode. Yeah, I don't like this actually. Yeah, I think I changed my mind. I just want to push this all a little bit harder. One thing I might actually do, this is going to sound really bad, I think. Yeah, it's just pure buzz if you add something that's already harmonically rich into this kind of chain. What I can do, though, is there's this analog BD sign thing. So you just mix in like a few really basic harmonics. And in fact, I think I'll actually take the sort of other way with this. So this is kind of cool. You can make a wavetable, and the idea is that you sort of add harmonics here. Let's try also a little bit of stuff here for fun. I'll go ahead and take this and FM this signal with this one a little bit. This probably won't sound very good, but I just want to play with it and see what happens. Stream boy, thanks for the follow. Sounds like ass. Let's try this too. Because I think I want to bring out more high-end stuff now. Actually, after all this, maybe I stick another saturator thing on there. Let's do another one of these tape things. I think we just need to push a lot of this harder. Just not loving what we're getting here. Maybe I'm just not using sort of hard enough distortion on some of this. I actually want to try this wave filter thing again. See what I get. We'll do this after the second tape thing. Man, there is no subtlety to that in this chain. Let's just try a saturator here. That's kind of cool with specific harmonics. No, it's just getting bad. This might be a failed experiment today. It's okay. Sorry for your ears. I don't think I want to try and achieve a particular sound 2 curves. Sounds so bad, you guys. All right, here's what I might do. My first attempt. Now we're gonna make a new chain. Second attempt. Mute that. I just want to try and do this again. And kind of take the same, or at least a similar approach. But maybe with some different automation and stuff. So I'm going to take the same kind of riff. I think rhythmically this is pretty cool together. Another thing I might do. Yeah, I think I'll skip the FM for now. So this is something I want to play with later. Oh, not auto pitch, that's not what I meant. I meant where's the shifter? Where is that again? Frequency shifter, that's the one. We'll play with that later. I think another thing that people were playing with that I thought was pretty cool is there's this which unit was it? This frequency shifter. It does this kind of FM-y kind of thing, actually. Let's see. Okay, we'll do the fine knob instead. maybe we want to use that. I think what I'm going to do is, because first with this there's no other frequencies, so actually filtering right after this makes no sense. So we need something that will initially add a bunch of harmonics first, and I think I'm actually going to go straight for that. Let's see which one. One of these more analog ones I think is kind of fun to play with. We can do this CLA 76 again. See what we get. I like these harmonics already. Just to my ears. Of course, we blasted this now. So is there an output reduction thing I can do? No, I might just have to utility that back down, which is fine. That's what the utility is for, and why we have this limiter at the end right now. Let's just get rid of all that. The hell? Oh, that, I see. Those harmonics are actually coming from the limiter. Okay. That's kind of an issue. That's why. Yeah, the melody is just pitch automation right now. So this actually isn't really coloring the sound how I wanted. We need a saturator. Why don't I just try and go for this Melda one? Start with that. Doesn't really matter what we use here. I just want to try to use stuff I don't normally use for this, because that's usually when you get interesting stuff, is when you do stuff you haven't done before. So now that we actually have some stuff going on in the mid-range, I want to go for trash again. And where is it? Trash. And here I want to add back some of that like LFO stuff in the filter. And already we get a bunch of extra harmonics because of the limiter that's on here. So I'm going to turn that down. I always find it funny, this is a small aside, I always find it funny when people, especially working with digital audio, talk about gain staging, because all it really means is just setting up the level properly for the input to a plugin. And I just think it's a weird term, like it's a weirdly historic one that I feel like is also, I don't know, used a bit mysteriously, if that makes sense. Alright, so this sound designs, this second attempt is already much more successful, and I think it's because I'm thinking more about like what are their harmonics going to do. So in this case, we do some kind of saturation or something to actually generate more harmonics instead of just the sine, and then we need to, then this filter's actually got stuff to work on. You can already hear we're getting more interesting stuff out of this. So I'm going to turn on this LFO again. This is kind of doing this. And let's stick in another one. Why not? give these overlapping ranges. Now, I don't think I want to distort in this plugin right now, but I want to just kind of see what happens. Yeah, so there you can hear we get a lot of that kind of vowel-y stuff, which I think is what I want right now. I want to distort this again, I think. And then I think I'm going to bring back that J37 and try to use that saturator that's in there. A lot of it too. Like I bought this plugin for some coloration, but also for this time delay effects, and so I'm just kind of trying to use it because it's kind of new to me. It's so weird how it's in stereo. Again, I don't really know too much about what this does. I am kind of trying to run it into the red internally. I'm not really sure that did much, but I'm going to leave it on there. And I do want to distort this more. What if I find like a more harsh saturator again? I don't want to use trash because I want to try and branch out a bit more. Even just using this Melda saturator again, I think is nice. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm really wary of using the wave folder. Wave shaper I might be able to use actually. In fact, let's kind of explore that. Even though this is more or less what I was gonna do in trash anyway. Yeah, this is that same kind of saturation stuff. I don't want to go too wild with that, so. Also, the kind of annoying thing here, I feel like I'm getting some interesting modulations here with trash. But it's also, there's a lot of this lower stuff. I guess this is also in a lot of these upper ranges. So actually, if I cut out this lower mid stuff, it's probably fine. Which I think I want to do before the saturation, because I think that's what's getting it to be kind of ooh instead of like something cool. Yeah, I'm right. So all of our interesting motion should be happening in this little upper range here. Let's go for the notch again. Oops. Actually, this is all our interesting stuff around, 300 and above. Of course, we have our sub down here. And then all this stuff, which just generates crap in terms of this kind of distortion. I'm intentionally overdoing it a bit. Also, I totally want to do this before J37. So we'll try and run this a bit hotter. That got pretty messy. Again, just leave that on, doing a little. I wonder if we can make this stuff even more pronounced. I did use this clean peak, and I don't know if that's actually what I want here. So what if this were, I don't know, some kind of vowel? Obviously that's a bit too modern talking-y for my taste, but... Okay. Liking this a bit more. That's kind of cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically playing with the dynamics of the sound now. Let's do this not BPM and just see what we get if I do this, for example. Whoops, the other way. And we can even run this a little hotter. totally messy bringing those other harmonics. This is actually kind of cool, adding some noise on top of this. Not that much. Thanks, Susan. Good to see you, by the way. Okay, now I think this is at least a more successful version of this kind of sound. I still don't know if I'm in love with it, but this is just an experiment today, so I don't really mind. And we're going to do a little bit of EQ at the end here. Actually, this is a really good place to bring back a multiband dynamics unit, and I think I'll use trash again for that. I'm going to try to like gate stuff like I did before. I thought that was kind of cool. In fact, even if I just use this as a single band gate, I think this will be useful. There's a bit more tail here than I would like, which I could fix in the synth, but there's some nasty stuff in there too. So I think I'll just gate this here. Because the dynamics that are actually in the synth, because it's so distorted, the dynamics that are in the synth are really just going to bring out different harmonics. I kind of like that stabby like that. That's kind of cool. Okay, this is a bad sound for this actually. Not that happy with what I ended up with, I think. But again, just an experiment today. I like it when it's not as crunchy. This actually sounds much more to my liking when I don't push it so hard. So why don't I actually just start dialing some of the stuff back a little. I'm going to bring out the highest harmonics with that. I think that's good. Hey, Slurpee. This is totally electric farts. A lot cleaner when I leave that in there. These are a little much, aren't they? Oh, that's one of the reasons why it sounded so bad. First of all, I wasn't modifying this modulator, was I? I'm going to actually fix that and play with this a little bit. First pitch, and this was at 11, so this should also be at 11. And I think this is also unipole. Yeah, still pretty bad. I like it's a little metallic though. Oof. That's great, Talk War. I do like that it has kind of like a natural distortion sound. I still feel like I'm hearing too much low mids. I think that's my biggest issue with it right now, actually. Actually, a lot of just too much high harmonics in general, so I might even just take the stab a little bit down again. I think I want the sub to just like stay loud though, so maybe I make this multiband again. Actually, this really helped as a gate. So then maybe if I just add a compressor at the end. Yeah, sorry about Slack. Okay, let's do dynamics. Make that multiband. And I like to have this view for this. And I think we want to bring this up. So the sub is just like super loud the whole time the sound plays. I think this honestly is the kind of sound I was after, where you just get a bit of those harmonics and they kind of make the sound more natural, but ultimately you're mostly just getting sub. And the harmonics here I think sound fairly natural. I think I'm pretty happy with this actually. At least for now. I might even roll some of this off. Or blasting the limiter a bit, that's fine. Fine for a test, it's not fine otherwise. You can see here, it hits 0. just fine. I mean, this is also the kind of thing that after this I'd probably do some regular compression as well, and I might even stick that through another one of these tape units, just to get it down. In fact, this is also the kind of thing I might just straight up put a limiter on. But I think ultimately, I think this is cool. I like how that's compressing it a little. And then I think I do want to stick a limiter on the end of this. And these signal chains get stupid long, by the way. I'm going to delete this first attempt chain and then just take all this other stuff that's in this second attempt, bring it out of that chain, or out of that rack. And then I'll get rid of this other stuff we didn't use. I am actually somewhat curious what this frequency shifter thing might do under this, though. Might hurt your guys' ears here. Stick it really early in the chain. Here we're getting really like FM kind of stuff here, which I think is kind of fun. I actually love how that sounds. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think that's actually really cool to make a high end sound like that. Because it gets this really natural kind of, it almost sounds like I pushed it through like a convolution, but that's not what I did. So I'm actually going to dig into that a bit more. This is when I think making music is the most fun. Because what I would do with something like this is actually take off all the bass again. Let's just try this at a couple different places in this chain. That sounds kind of painful. Okay, so a key to this is actually putting this pretty early in the chain. That's cool. I might save that for later. closing this meter. That's dumb. Okay, anyway. I think we're kind of at the sound I wanted to actually start with. So I'm going to do a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to save this. If we go into my sound design projects. 32, and then what's today? 2020 05 14 00. So man, what I hate about this drum loop is that it's so fucking bright. But it's the closest thing. Like, it sounds really saturated in a bad way to me. But it's the closest thing I wanted to. Closest thing I had on hand to what I wanted. I'm actually going to do a tiny bit of mixing here, even though I said I wouldn't. And that's to do some sidechain with this, which I don't think it'll take much. I need, 2 MIDI tracks. And I'm gonna make those the same color as this. So this will be the kick sidechain and the snare sidechain. And we're gonna do some programming here such that this lines up with where the kicks are. Over here, right? So there's our kick, and then our snare is just on the 1 and the 3, I think, or the 2 and the 4, I guess. That's what I mean. Which is here, right? Yeah, this is in the wrong place. I'm not going to touch this ghost note here. And then this, I'll add a couple LFO tools. Then we're going to draw in the sidechain curves that I want. And I think I want to duck it really hard, but we're going to try and make that sound relatively transparent. So I'm going to do a different sidechain for both the kick and the snare. I didn't see which plugin window is which. So I'll start with this one. This should be the kick. It's going to be something like this. This kick is pretty tight, so I don't think we'll need much. And then this, the way we do this is we put an instrument, and there's an external instrument in live, and we can now route this to this group I made. And we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to route this to the other one, the other LFO tool. And we're going to go back on this group, mute the second one, turn this to envelope mode. Something like that. If I pull up my ozone again. That's okay. And then we'll do the same with the snare here. I don't think I put this on the right stuff. That's definitely on the kick. Maybe I just didn't put this in right. So it's down to an 8th. That's what I want. maybe less. You can hear the bass saturates now because of that. It's the crazy volume automation. I guess it's actually the saturation is already in there. I'm just listening for the wrong thing. Also, one thing I just thought to check. Ooh, that's probably fine actually. Yeah, this is still not correct, but good enough. Ideally, we would stick this at -3, but we didn't get this quite right, but I don't really care right now. I think this is just too loud too. Okay. What I actually wanted to play with is some other stuff here. That's awesome, Amiga Bill. Really appreciate hearing that. Thanks for the kind words. We'll just focus on this. Just get rid of everything else. So one of the kind of fun things you can do when you have something like this. This is a stupid effects chain. Is you can mess with like send effects with this. Man, is it now that it's atonal that's bugging me? I'm not able to focus on what I want to focus on because of this. I think that sounds cooler without the melody. Cool. I think that's fun. I just had an idea that I never thought about. I can group these, can't I? And I can call this side chain versus dry. Oh, this is actually cool because now I can do this here without the side chain, which is really nice if I just want to hear this. Cool. And those little clicks and pops I don't really usually care about. They come from the sidechain envelope being really sharp, but I tend not to really give a shit because you don't hear them behind the actual transients of the drums. Yeah, the other next thing I'm going to do is save this variant of this. And in fact, I'll do that for this too. If I do Control-Shift-R, I just want to render this quick. Just render a wave. This goes in my heavy bass. Yeah, that's perfect. And now I've got this in this little sample folder in my own ones here. Or no, 172. Yeah, it should be here. That sounds actually kind of cool. Okay. Yeah, so what I wanted to do is, let's see. This group. I think I want to do a new track in here as part of this group. And here I want to do effects 1, I think. And here I want to, well, what do I want to do? I want to take in the main bass. So I thought that would have still played. We'll do this post effects in. That's what I want. Yeah, so now we have the main bass essentially doubled here. But the trick is now I want to put some crazy delays and crap on here. So I think I actually wanted to try Ableton's grain delay because I haven't tried it. I don't know if this is cool. Yeah, this does not work with just this. I need to like pitch shift it or something first. Which I can try the Melda one again. This is just me playing around. It might become a song, but probably not. Probably not on its own. Yeah, here we get into that stuff just on its own. It's not very good. Let's try just filtering out the fundamental. Right, and then I think this is going to be much easier to process. And then if we want to do some kind of grain delay, I actually have a Portal, which is a bit of a cooler one, or at least it has easier stuff out of the box, and I think we'll get some cool stuff out of this. Let's see. This interface is really cool. It's totally like a toy kind of interface. I mean, this is really just an XY pad, but it is inspiring to get those kind of toys. So here we go. I think also I wanted to try pitch shifting this stuff. So there's frequency shifter. You know, I wish this would actually give me like a value in notes. The other thing I can do with this is I might compress it because we remove so much information with this and there's not as much left here. So I might bring that up. That's this stuff. So now we're really pushing it here, but that's fine. So now we can go back and turn this on again. And I'm not that familiar with this stuff yet. I'm just literally looking for cool stuff. Okay, I'm pretty sure I've heard this exact effect on a Mefuse track. That's kind of fun. Right. And so what the cool stuff about this is, now this is like rocky, I'll call this dropping rocks because that's what it sounds like to me. So the key is that now that we have this, in fact, I'm actually going to compress it after too. And it's, of course, there's a lot of stuff happening here, so we need to EQ some of this out. The other thing is, I think I also want to EQ some of the high end out before we get to the delay. So let's take some of that out. I think that's cool. Yeah, so the key is that as a song would progress, this is the kind of stuff you would sort of bring in. And typically you also want to sidechain this with the original signal, which, since this has a lot of holes, this would actually give this some room to breathe. So let's do that too. I'll just actually stick a compressor at the end here. Just use the live one. And with this, we'll do the same thing, but we'll turn on sidechain, and that will give us from main bass. And we'll do post effects, so before the mixer. So if we change the volume on this, this doesn't change. So we'll let this kind of swell up when that other one isn't playing. Also, I want to try something here. Right, so this is actually a cool parameter to automate, is what I'm finding here. So we'll turn on automation. So this is the kind of thing you would do, let's see. Right, like in this song, let's say we kind of establish this groove. And then on the second half, we would start messing with this. So if we go back to the frequency shifter here, and I think we want 0.5 to start out with, which is no shift. In fact, actually lower might be cool. Why not, right? So okay, something with the automation of this delay works out really well sometimes and not some other times. It's this. And then if this gets harsh, we'll just cut it down. Like up here, it gets really harsh. So I think also, does this follow my sequencer? Yes, it does. Great. So then what I want to do is, I think actually I'd fix that with either multiband dynamics, which I'll actually use the ozone one. Yeah, multiband EQ would work too, but let's go with this. And the other thing with this delay is I think I might add a reverb at the end of it too. So here, I just want this sort of high end range. Up there is where it gets real harsh. Actually, just turn it off for these bands. Down. Give a little bit of other stuff to work on too, just so it's not as harsh. We can do more. I'm actually thinking I might want to use a different delay effect for this one that's a little more present more of the time, but I might remember this one and the fact that I modulate it. In fact, in order to do that, I might as well duplicate it, just so I don't lose that in case I decide to change my mind. That actually gets really harsh on the high frequencies. I might actually, instead of having fixed it like I did, let's get rid of that and actually just make it not go that high. Feels a bit safer, doesn't it? That's a lot cooler. But this is more what I was after. I wanted something really textured like this. All right, so what we can do, another thing, I'm gonna take out this middle so it doesn't interfere so much with the other stuff that we're gonna have. All right, so here's the key. We automate this. We also need to make like a dry wet thing here so that this only comes in on these parts. So what's the best way to do that? I could just do it with straight up gain. I'm not sure if that's how I want to do it though. Let's see. A filter is a nice way to do this too. Like that. Now the issue I have with this is that it feels too much like a reverb and not enough like a delay. So I actually don't want this one. Like this one, for example, still more feels like a textured delay, which is what I want. This is more like what I wanted. And then I wanted to, let's compress this a little. Run it through another one of those tape units because I just want to use those lately. It's fun. In fact, actually a cool thing we can do here is we can use this vinyl plugin. I'll remove this filter for now. Oh no! My CPU's maxing out. Oh, that hasn't happened to me in live for years, actually. That's funny. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I've just lost connection to my sound card. Cool. That's annoying. All right, I might have to come back to this. Oh, what a shit show. I don't know how that happened, actually. I don't sound weird right now, do I? So live hasn't crashed. It just disconnected from my sound card. I'm going to save this really quick. And I'm just going to reopen live and hope it works this next time. Because this has been doing some weird stuff. It shouldn't take too long to load. This project wasn't that heavy. But yeah, you can see how this stuff is addictive to play with. If only I enjoyed playing with visuals this much. I'd probably make more demos. Look at this cat that my friend has. I love how he sends me pictures. It's the nicest cat. Let's see. Let's see if we can get this to connect to my sound card again. Yeah, maybe I'll increase this latency a bit just to be sure. Doesn't hurt too much. Then we'll open the project again and hope it works. Oh, did my video freeze? It looks like it might have, but that might just be my stream preview. It's nice to actually push my computer once in a while. I don't do enough gaming to do that, so. Yeah, it's already crumbling under the pressure. Those cracks are at the screen, by the way. As embarrassing as that is. You know what I'm going to do too for this? I'm actually going to freeze this. And what this does is it temporarily renders this out and then disables all the plugins. So ideally, this will solve the CPU issues. Yeah, you can see it's much better. So I'm doing this for two reasons. One, I'm doing this for the artifacts. And two, I'm going to do this because I want to modulate some of this. So this is kind of a funny plugin. It modulates, or it emulates taking the track and putting it on a record, like scratching into a record and then picking it up again. And so you can change the different kinds of like you either go to this first lacquer. I mean, I don't really know vinyl, so I'm probably gonna say something wrong here. But this is like the wax. So this is kind of the initial print, like the master, and then this is an actual print that would have been made from the master. Is kind of the idea here. So these both have different qualities. This is supposed to be shittier in a fun way. I'm not really familiar with like the vinyl sound, so I just use it for like creative effects that sound somewhat musical to my ears. But I also bought this recently, so I don't really know that much about it. But then you can also change the cartridge type, which is the kind of head used to pick it up. You can also change the type of turntable it's played on, which I guess is probably most useful for some of these time effects. And all of these have subtle sound differences that, again, I don't really know, but I hope to get more familiar with because I think this is just a fun plugin to play with. But the reason I picked this in particular is for two reasons. One, I think I can actually drive this to saturate. And I thought... we can get some crackle in there. But also I wanted to use this wow effect. This actually is simulating the fact that the speed of this is actually going to modulate a bit. So if I turn the depth up here, you get kind of that effect. I mean, this is overdone, but oh, that's cool, Omega Bill. I would love to see some of that equipment. I'm wondering, did I do this before I filtered out the low end? I might try this before as well. What? That's so harsh. That's actually kind of cool. So I might try to retain some of that. So what I think was happening is that this shifter shifted that sub, which is like really loud. It shifted that peak and then it ended up popping in a couple places. So instead of putting this after where I take out all that low end, I might actually just duck it a bit. If I duck here, that should be fine. There, so we get something tonal. Right, so again, this would be in like this second part here. And the last thing I want to do with this is EQ it again. And this EQ is going to be surgical. This is meant to like cut stuff that we don't need. And I still think I want to reverb on this too. Just to make it even crazier. Or maybe another delay even. Because we have this delay for like effects. In fact, I'm actually going to play with another texture too. Why not? I need to do loop this range. There's another thing I didn't even mention that I'm totally gonna do with this. I'll try this stuff. I think that's really cool. This is the one, you guys. Okay, we need this speed to be really high, don't we? I really like this. Also, this filter can come in, I think, a lot faster, because I think we can make this sort of develop a different way. So the other thing I wanted to do is stick room on here, which is a lovely reverb. And there's two reasons I want to do this. One of them is because this bass, I'm pretty sure I made it dead mono. Mute this for now. In fact, actually, where's that 1 meter? This one. Yeah, it's actually not entirely mono. We might want to fix that, but it's mostly mono. In fact, let's actually get a proper visualizer on that. This imager will show me that. Just the ozone imager. And I'll turn the amount. Yeah, it's basically dead mono. And then this delay effect will totally fill up the stereo image. So in fact, I could even make it entirely stereo if I wanted to, only keep the stereo components, which I might do. And we can do that in a couple ways. One of them is, I'm going to do it after the reverb just to be sure. One of them is we can take something like Pro Q, and we can do like a low cut and turn this on to mid side mode, and just cut out the mids up until this point. So it's pretty wide. Although if we wanted pure wide, we could either put this all the way up. Usually sounds a bit weird to do that, but doing something like this is pretty cool. And then that makes this stuff be really audible. What I wanted to do is make this reverb develop too. Something like that feels swelly. And so then as this would play out, that would come in progressively. And then it would do something else. And so you typically also put this with some other like drum fills and cymbals and stuff, so that as these things kind of progress, they sort of come in and like you sort of emphasize the changes. And then you would also do several of these, like you might do 12 of these through the progression of a song. And what's kind of cool about doing that is you don't actually have to do that much MIDI and other arrangement. You can just kind of do everything with the effects, which is something I haven't really explored in a track, which is kind of why I'm sitting down doing this. And the whole reason why I wanted a bass that didn't have insane harmonics initially is so that I could get crazy with these delay effects. That was my plan for today all along. I promise I didn't make it up as I went. The only thing I don't like about this is I want it to be more. I want there to be more of this. So a good way to do that is, again, compress. And I think I want to do it with one of these stupid plugins again. And I'll do it after the reverb too, to make it really fat. So we'll stick in another waves on here. And let's use, well, actually, I might even just use gain reduction on this, which is going to sound stupid first, but we'll try it. So upfront. This plugin is ridiculous. Also, this comes from this, right? Yeah, it does. I kind of like the crackle in that, actually. That's kind of cool, actually. And then this gets a bit harsh in a couple places. Cut out some of these peaks here. We don't need anyway, so that's fun. And then I think we can actually turn this a little bit down. I'm gonna save this. And one thing I forgot to do is this file, collect all and save, which will pull in the break and everything too. And I think with just this, see, this isn't even very loud, but you hear it in the mix because of the contrast to everything else. And one of the cool things you can do is, let's keep that locked. Oops, how did that not copy what I wanted to copy? There we go. If you kind of duplicated this arrangement, then you would have like a second one, but I think what I would bring in here is actually a ride symbol. I wonder if I just have a loop for that, to be honest, because I'm feeling lazy today. Classic jungle. Does it have a ride in it? It's got some breaks with some rides, but I just want a ride. All those are way too ringy. That's for like a dubstep kit, so that's gonna be too much. This is probably gonna be not what I wanted. Drum hits, tops. Oh, I love the tone of this. It's a bit harsh, but that's what volume is for. Because I'm thinking this is on the 8ths. That was on quarter notes. Something like this. And this is going to be really robotic because we're not playing this with anything. I could pull up slate drums and actually make this more proper. But also, this ride is actually, when I hear it in context, it's a bit darker than I thought, but we can fix that easy. And then this would come in here. And then maybe we'll have like a wash layer. It's going to act kind of like a snare. And I think there's a cool one in here, if I remember correctly. Both of these. So if we stuck this one here, and I think this probably have a warp on it, which we do not want, and then this one here, which also will have warp on it, and then we turn these way down. Something like that, and you can kind of feel how that kind of progression works, which I think is fun. But yeah, that's definitely more than enough for today. I've been streaming for, oh Jesus, almost 3 hours. I gotta go tell my wife I'm sorry. And thanks guys for hanging out. I had a lot of fun playing with this. And I'll see you next time.